Come on, man, you call that a lift? The words slice through the hum of the gym like a blade. Marcus's elbows lock halfway up, chest trembling under the load. Sweat stings his eyes, but the burn in his arms isn't what makes him falter. It's the sound of Rick's voice, loud enough to pull every head in the room toward him. Phones rise like a firing squad, little red dots blinking as they record. Somewhere in the back, a whisper turns into a chuckle. Marcus forces air through clenched teeth, eyes fixed on the ceiling. He's been here before, different places, same tone. Rick doesn't just stand there. He strolls closer, grinning like a man who knows he's already won. Might as well drop it now, he adds, voice carrying over the clink of weights. Don't want to hurt yourself. Again, the bar wobbles. Marcus tightens his grip, refusing to give him the satisfaction. His shoulders scream, but his pride screams louder. Every second feels like a dare one he can't afford to lose. Rick's laugh rolls out, slow and deliberate, like he's savoring the moment. Heavy, huh? He says, shaking his head. Bet those weights are heavier than your whole neighborhood. It lands like a sucker punch. The air shifts half, the room smirks. The other half pretends not to hear. A guy at the squat rack looks away, fumbling with his earbuds. Two women by the treadmills exchange glances, their lips twitching into uneasy smiles. Marcus swallows hard. He's no stranger to microaggressions, but this isn't subtle. This is a public performance, a show. For the phone's now angled to catch every reaction. Rick leans against a bench like he's holding court, his laughter echoing against the walls. What? Just stating facts. The words are casual, but the intent is razor-sharp. Marcus's chest rises and falls faster, not from exhaustion, but from the pressure building inside. This wasn't about weightlifting anymore. This was about putting him in his place. He scans the room, searching for a face-any face that might stand with him. Instead, he sees verdicts in silence. The guy filming near the dumbbell rack smirks. Someone else shrugs, as if to say, not my problem. It's the same choice Marcus has watched his whole life: speak up and risk something, or stay quiet and stay comfortable. And right now, no one is risking a thing. Even the trainer at the far end of the gym doesn't move, eyes glued to a tablet as if oblivious. Marcus knows better. They all heard. His fingers curl tighter around the knurled steel, the skin at his palms straining against. Calluses earned through years of discipline. But the lift isn't his battle right now. It's the war in his chest. Every muscle is taut, caught between the urge to slam the weight down and the instinct to keep control. He remembers every time he bit his tongue, every insult that slid past because making a scene would only make things worse. Every door that closed quietly after someone decided he didn't belong. His jaw locks. Not today. He exhales slowly, steadying himself, the bar trembling slightly as if it can feel the shift in him. Rick smirks from the corner, leaning just far enough to make sure Marcus sees him. Are you done yet? The words drip with challenge, daring him to break. Rick steps forward, voice carrying over the hum of machines. You know what? This is why I don't train guys like you. The sentence hits harder than the weight on Marcus's chest. Not guys who can't lift. Not guys without discipline. Guys like you, it's surgical, designed to humiliate. To make sure every person in earshot knows exactly who he means. The room feels smaller, quieter. Even the treadmill belts seem to slow. Marcus stares straight ahead, vision narrowing. The insult looping in his head like a hook he can't shake free. The bar crashes against the floor with a metallic snap. Marcus rises, shoulders squared, chest heaving not from the set, but from something deeper, older. His eyes lock on Rick's, holding steady, no words, just the promise that this isn't over. 5 more minutes, Marcus. You'll be late again, his mother called from the kitchen. Marcus rubbed the sleep from his eyes, muscles aching from the overnight delivery route. Stocking shelves at dawn was bad enough, but the evening grind left his body running on fumes. Yet by the time most people were settling into their couches, he was at the gym, chalking his hands. Every rep was a rebellion against fatigue. Every drop of sweat was a payment toward a dream. Few believed he could afford becoming a certified personal trainer. He didn't train for likes or followers. He trained because discipline was the one thing no one could take from him. As he re-racked the barbell, his phone buzzed with another shift offer. He accepted without hesitation. Bills didn't care about ambition, but neither did he care about excuses sometimes during the quiet between sets. Old memories crept in uninvited. He could still see the principal's office, the peeling wallpaper, the way the clock ticked louder than the man's voice. Attitude problem, they'd called it, after he'd spoken up about being shoved in the hallway. His white classmate walked away with a warning. Marcus walked away with a suspension. It happened so often the pattern became predictable. Teachers who smiled at others frowned at him. Security guards who waved one kid through searched his backpack. He learned to speak less, observe more. That quiet defiance followed him into adulthood, not out of fear, but as armor dots once smelled like barbecue smoke and Sunday morning coffee from the corner diner. Now it reeked of overpriced espresso and fresh paint from condos he couldn't dream of affording. The same neighbors who used to greet him by name had been priced out, replaced by strangers who locked their doors at the sight of him. Still, the gym hadn't changed, not yet. It was the last place where the air felt familiar, where he knew the rhythm of the room and the weight of the iron better than the faces around him. Inside those walls, another kind of divide existed. Trainers gravitated toward marketable clients, the ones who fit the image plastered across the gym's website. The rest were left to figure it out alone. Marcus had felt it from day one, the ignored nods, the quick glances that slid past him as if he wasn't worth acknowledging. Even when his form was flawless, the tips and encouragement went elsewhere. Need a spot? He once offered to a fellow lifter, only to be waved off without eye contact. He'd stopped offering, not out of bitterness, but because the message was already clear. There was a pecking order here, and he wasn't at the top of it. 3 months. That was all he had before his certification exam. Every night after his second shift, he'd review anatomy charts, memorize muscle groups, and plan workouts for an imaginary roster of clients. He saw more than just a business. He pictured an inclusive fitness studio where no one was judged by skin color, body type, or background. Someday, he muttered between sets, feeling the strain in his forearms. It wasn't just about passing an exam, it was about building the space he wished had existed when he started. A place where no one had to earn the right to belong. Yo, Rickspot. Marcus's voice cut through the hum of treadmills as he lowered himself under the loaded bar. Rick glanced over, hand already on his shaker bottle, but before Marcus could even exhale, a blonde guy across the room called, "Hey Rick, help me real quick." "On it," Rick said, breaking into a jog without a second thought. Marcus stayed locked under the bar, chest straining, breath caught in his throat. His arms trembled as the steel sank lower toward him. He rolled the weight to the safety pins, feeling it slam into place with a violent clank that drew a few glances, but no help. Rick was already laughing with the other guy, slapping him on the back like they'd just set a world record. Not a glance in Marcus's direction, not even a half-hearted "my bad." Marcus unclipped the plates, jaw tight. This wasn't about forgetting, it was about priorities. And right now, this doesn't seem to count. Later that evening, Marcus was setting up for deadlifts when Rick strolled by, a smirk playing at his lips. "Don't drop it, man," Rick said, loud enough for half the gym to hear. "You'll scare the old ladies." A few chuckles rippled through the nearby crowd. Someone even muttered, "For real," under their breath. Marcus didn't respond. He knew how this game worked. The comment would be brushed off as just a joke, the kind you're supposed to take with a grin. But jokes have teeth, and this one bit deep. It wasn't about old ladies at all, it was about the quiet suggestion that his presence was threatening, that his strength was somehow dangerous. He finished his set in silence, each rep heavier than the last, not because of the weight, but because of the stares that followed. Rick walked away, satisfied, like he'd just reminded Marcus where he stood in this unspoken hierarchy. A few days later, Marcus approached the front desk. "Morning. Slots still open? I'm trying to get in before work." Rick, tapping on the computer, shook his head. "Nah, man. Fully booked for weeks. Afternoons are your best bet." Marcus nodded slowly, though something didn't sit right. That feeling sharpened an hour later when he overheard a newcomer being told, "We've got plenty of early morning. ×4, you just pick one." He waited, listening. The guy selected the same day Marcus had asked about. Rick smiled, clicked, and printed the schedule without hesitation. Marcus walked back to his locker with the bitter taste of confirmation. He wasn't imagining if these doors opened wider for some and slammed shut for others. Marcus had learned to keep his head down. But sometimes the truth didn't hide, it announced itself. He was wiping down a bench when he caught voices drifting from behind the treadmills. Rick's low drawl was unmistakable. "I just don't see him fitting the brand," Rick said. Another trainer asked, "What do you mean?" "He's strong, works hard." "Yeah, but he's not the right look," Rick replied. The words wrapped in that casual tone people use when they think they're being reasonable. Marcus froze, the cloth still in his hand. He'd heard versions of that line his whole life, on job interviews, in school sports, even from so-called friends. It was never about skill or dedication. It was about something he couldn't change. The trainer mumbled something Marcus couldn't catch, but Rick's laughter filled in the rest. The verdict wasn't spoken out loud, but it was clear. His presence was conditional. The gym had been his refuge, a place where discipline mattered more than skin tone, or so he'd believed. Now every interaction felt like evidence against him, each small slight another line in the case file. He wasn't just lifting weights anymore. He was lifting the weight of proving, over and over, that he belonged here at all. And lately, he wasn't sure if this was a battle he wanted to keep fighting alone. "Yo, Marcus," front and center. Rick's voice cut through the thump of bass music, sharp enough to turn heads. Marcus looked up from re-racking his weights. "What's up?" Rick waved him over, grinning like he'd just set up a surprise party. "Busy day, everybody's here. Perfect time to show them that new snatch variation." Marcus's stomach dipped. He'd only tried it twice, once alone. once with shaky success. I'm not. Come on, man, Rick interrupted, clapping a hand on his shoulder. You've been talking big about pushing yourself. Let's give the people a show. Eyes were already on him. A circle of space opened in the middle of the gym floor, the kind that swallows any excuse whole. Backing out now would just confirm whatever silent narrative Rick was itching to prove. All right, Marcus said, though the word felt like a dare aimed at himself more than agreement. The bar waited under the overhead lights, loaded heavier than he'd practiced with. Rick stood just behind him, hands folded like a ring announcer about to introduce the main event. Ladies and gentlemen, Rick said, loud enough to reach the treadmills, watch and learn. Marcus gripped the bar, knuckles whitening. The metal bit cold into his palms as he pulled. The first part smooth, then the weight stalled halfway. He adjusted his stance, breath short. The room felt smaller, hotter. 100 silent judgments pressed in as he fought the resistance above his head. Come on, man, Rick urged, voice carrying that mix of encouragement and bait. Marcus's elbows shook, the bar wobbling like a live thing trying to break free. He fought to stabilize it, but his shoulders screamed. Tendons stretched their limit. A bead of sweat traced down his temple. The lift wasn't impossibly, was just enough beyond his comfort zone to turn strength into struggle. And that was the point. The crowd's gaze was heavier than the steel, making every second feel like it belonged to someone else's clock. The bar dipped, his right arm giving before he caught it again. That's when Rick's voice rang out. Come on, man. My grandma lifts heavier than that. The words hit like a slap. For a heartbeat, there was silence, then the laughter came. Quick, sharp bursts at first, then rolling chuckles. A guy by the squat rack muttered something to his friend. They both grinned without looking Marcus's way. A woman on the stair machine tried to hide her smirk behind her water bottle. It wasn't the sound alone. It was the way it confirmed every suspicion, every warning sign Marcus had ignored. This wasn't encouragement. It was a setup. Rick kept grinning, leaning against a bench like he'd just made the winning joke at a roast. Almost there, he added, his tone dripping with mockery disguised as motivation. Marcus's hands stayed locked on the bar, but his focus splintered. The weight above him wasn't just iron, it was the reminder that here, in front of everyone, he was the punchline. Out of the corner of his eye, Marcus caught it a quick flash, then another. Phones were out. A few discreet, angled down as if pretending to check notifications. Others brazenly held high, lenses aimed right at him. Someone whispered, "This is gonna blow up," followed by the digital chirp of a video starting. The knowledge hit harder than the bar. This wasn't just public embarrassment, it was the kind that could follow him outside these walls. Replayed, captioned, turned into a joke on strangers' screens. Rick noticed, too. If anything, he seemed to feed off it, his smile widening. "Looking good, big man," he called, not to encourage, but to draw more attention. The laughter softened now, replaced by the quiet clicks and taps of recording. In some ways, that silence cut deeper. A man near the cable machines chuckled into his phone, clearly still recording. "This is gold," he said to no one in particular. Not everyone joined in. A young woman near the stretching mats hesitated, her brow furrowing. She stepped forward. "Hey, maybe give him a Rick's head," turned, his smile gone for a split. "Second, it's fine," he cut her off, voice tight enough to make her retreat dot around them. People shifted. Some avoided Marcus's gaze altogether, pretending to focus on their workouts. Others kept glancing over like they couldn't decide whether to laugh or feel guilty for not stopping it. No one actually stepped in. No one said it was wrong. That silence told Marcus exactly where he stood, not just with Rick, but with this crowd. His arms were still locked around the bar, but the real weight was somewhere deeper. Every ignored comment, every joke, every closed door and shrugged off, slight stacked together. They crushed him in a way the plates never could. Rick's smirk blurred at the edges of Marcus's vision. The voices, the whispers, the faint click of another recording all faded into one steady pulse in his ears. This wasn't just about today. It was about every time he'd been told, in one way or another, that he didn't belong. Something inside him shifted, not a break, but the kind of movement that comes before a storm. Marcus had just swung his gym bag over his shoulder when the voice came up warm and loud enough to stop conversations mid-sentence. "Yo, coach." The word cut deeper than just recognition. It carried respect. Heads turned, even those pretending not to listen. Marcus froze, caught between confusion and curiosity. Footsteps approached with purpose. The air shifted, that strange buzz you feel when something or someone important is about to step into your orbit. "Coach Marcus," the voice repeated, closer now, laced with disbelief, like someone had just stumbled across a winning lottery. Ticket. Marcus turned, his grip tightening on the strap. He knew that voice. Years had passed, but it was impossible to forget. "Man, I can't believe it's really you," the figure said, closing the gap with an energy that pulled the whole room into the moment. From the corner, Rick's smirk deepened, as if expecting another setup. But Marcus could already tell this wasn't one of Rick's games. Michael B. Jordan walked in like the room belonged to him, not arrogant, just undeniable. Conversations died mid-word, weights hung in mid-air. Even the clank of a dropped dumbbell sounded muted under the pull of his presence. He didn't glance around for approval. He walked straight toward Marcus, a grin spreading like this reunion had been waiting years to happen. "Still rocking that same stance," Michael said, stopping, just short of an embrace. "Man, I owe you more than you know." A ripple of whispers moved through the crowd. Phones appeared again, but this time their focus wasn't humiliation, it was curiosity, even awe. Rick leaned back against the bench, arms crossed, still trying to figure out where this was going. "You remember that little community center on the 8th? Michael asked, his tone softening, almost nostalgic. Marcus nodded. "Hard to forget. The roof leaked every time it rained." Michael chuckled. "Yeah. And the weights were older than both of us combined. But you," he jabbed a finger toward. "Marcus, you trained me there. Back when nobody else gave me a shot. You taught me how to work, how to show up even when nobody's watching." Marcus felt the words land heavy, not in a painful way, but in the kind that reminds you your effort hadn't been wasted. Michael's voice grew louder, deliberately carrying across the gym. "Everything I've built, that discipline, start with you, coach." A murmur rolled through the crowd, some glances turned toward Rick. Others locked on Marcus with a new kind of respect. Rick's grin faltered, the easy arrogance replaced with something tighter, calculating. He straightened, trying to reclaim ground with a casual laugh. "Didn't know you two knew each other," Rick said, the words wrapped in forced nonchalance. Michael didn't look at him, knew him. "This man's the reason I didn't quit when everything was against me." Marcus caught the subtle twitch in Rick's jaw. For the first time all day, Rick wasn't in control of the room. Michael clapped Marcus on the back. You got an hour. I need a real session, missing the way you push me. Marcus blinked. Now, right now, Michael said, grinning. And not just for me. I want them to see how a real coach works. He didn't even glance at Rick for permission. He walked Marcus toward the open floor like the decision had already been made. Phones rose again. But the lens was different, capturing not failure, but authority. The murmurs now carried admiration instead of mockery. Rick stayed where he was, the hum of shifting power thick in the air. Done, Michael said, sliding his phone back into his pocket. Marcus frowned. What did you just do? Posted the truth, Michael replied. The world needs to see this, coach. Within minutes, his Instagram lit up millions of followers watching the clip of Rick's mockery, paired with a caption that hit like a punch to the gut. This man taught me discipline when the world doubted me. Today, I watched him face disrespect no one should endure. We can and must do better. The comments exploded, celebrities, athletes, and everyday people demanding accountability. Hashtags naming Marcus and calling out the gym spread across platforms like wildfire. Marcus read one line aloud, voice low. Finally, someone standing up for real respect. Michael's gaze was steady. This isn't just a moment. It's a movement now. By the next morning, the video had reached every corner of the internet. Major fitness influencers reposted it, adding their own outrage. Threads on Twitter dissected the incident, pointing out not just Rick's treatment of Marcus, but the broader racism in fitness spaces. Comments flooded in. Marcus, you've got a new client right here. We need coaches like you. Marcus scrolled, almost overwhelmed. I can't keep up, he admitted. That's the point, Michael said. They see you now. It didn't take long for the backlash to hit home. The gym's corporate office released a statement condemning Rick's actions. By afternoon, he was suspended pending investigation. His once confident image replaced by defensive posts no one seemed to buy. Guess the room feels different now, Marcus murmured, seeing the update. Michael smirked. And you didn't have to lift a finger. Emails poured in, job offers from upscale gyms, messages from online clients ready to train, even a sponsorship inquiry. By week's end, Marcus had launched a crowdfunding campaign for his dream, an inclusive fitness studio where no one would be disrespected for who they are. The donations began pouring in. Now, think about it, Michael's voice echoed. If you were Marcus working hard, facing that kind of disrespect, what would you do? I want you to imagine that moment. Drop your thoughts below and share if you've lived it, because this isn't just about Marcus's, about all of us. If you believe in respect, equality, and real change, hit like, subscribe, and join a community that refuses to stay silent. The fight doesn't end here. Every comment, every shared story keeps the momentum. Your voice can inspire someone else to stand tall. Let's make sure it's heard.